one of the most comfortable days you could ever ask for a parade. A beautiful breeze, and the sun is not hot. It's just not a very warm. It's just a gorgeous day, really, for watching a parade. This is the Eisenhower High School Marching Band, the Eisenhower Lions from New Berlin, Eisenhower. The circus only had one band traveling with it, didn't it, in the old days?
No, the big top band was usually broken into two bands, maybe 8 or 10 musicians in each band, so that would give them 2. Then their sideshow had a band, that'd be 3. Then they'd have other instruments like calliops, uniphons, so they had all kinds of music in the parade.
Which is what you said just recently, that the circus loved music.
Yeah.
There's the tally-ho. There's another favorite of mine, the Norris and Rowe Circus tally-ho. Those are 8 ponies from Otis Ruff of Streator, Illinois. Norris and Rowe wasn't much of a, wasn't a terribly big circus, was it?
Norris and Rowe, it was a California circus. No, it wasn't a very large one, but it was a neat little show that did a good job out on the West Coast.
Well, that was a commercially made wagon, the tally-ho, and so they just bought it and used it. They didn't make it for themselves.
They couldn't afford to buy a big fancy bandwagon, so they just took this. It was like a top brake.
Okay.
And
another cage wagon from Hagenbeck Wallace, 3-arch cage wagon, the 6-Birchman hitch from Ralph Coddington of Indianapolis. Hey, Denise, what you got, kid?
Well, John, you mentioned the weather is pretty good. It's very nice weather, but there are some of us who are still finding it's a bit toasty out here. So I have found what may be the official way to keep cool. It's the official ice cream bar of the Great Circus Parade. And I guess, you know, you've got to find a way to keep cool. This is a pretty tough way to do it, but somebody has to. And I'll tell you, if you and Champion are very good through the rest of the parade, maybe I'll bring a couple of these treats over for you.
We promise. We promise we will be. All right, thanks, Denise. That's great. Well, the tally-ho just went by, and then the 3-arch cage wagon that we just talked of, and all of those are parts of the great circus parades back at the turn of the century. Until what, about the middle 1930s, I guess, the last one that went down the streets?
1939 was the last horse-drawn type circus parade.
Well, the children's section is coming right now, and you're looking, I recognize that guy without even seeing it. That's Mel Hummish from Sheboygan, and that's Mel's Clown Band. They rode with us a lot when we used to be around in the parades around here. Mel's Clown Band.
The wagon that they're riding in was from Italy originally, and the circus went to England, went broke, and the English circus bought it. Here we have it in Baraboo now, showing it in Milwaukee.
That's Henry Piano. I don't know if you know him. Henry Piano runs Italian Fest, Festa Italiana, and that's coming up next week. And so Henry's in the parade today, and that's his wife Joan with him. The Italian Community Center, of course, owns the coach yards now, and so allows the Circus World Museum to stage the parade down on the Italian Community Center grounds, known as the coach yards. Cinderella, did they have a children's section in any of these, or did they sprinkle these throughout?
No, they always had a children's section, and it would be the ponies and these special nursery type floats. We've got 3 of them. This is Cinderella, and we have Mother Goose, and we have the Old Woman in the Shoe.
That's a Sicilian festival cart, by the way. Antonio Piraro is driving that. He operates a restaurant in Milwaukee here. Part of the Sicilian folklore. Even on the side is a carving on Columbus discovering America. I suppose children were a big part of the circus audience, aren't they? Or weren't they? And aren't they even still?
I'll tell you an interesting fact. 2/3 of all tickets sold to a circus performance in history are adult tickets. And it's actually the truth that parents use kids as an excuse to go to the circus.
Oh, yeah. But yet, when you look at the crowd here, the parents are using the excuse awfully hard because there are an awful lot of kids in here, too.
Yeah. There's everything about a circus that circus performance or parade.
You know, while we have a minute, and this is the Ashwaubenon High School band coming, I wanted to talk about the baggage stock, as the circus people call the draft horses. The baggage stock was an important part of the traveling circus. They couldn't travel without them, could they?
Exactly. See, the smaller circuses years ago would travel from town to town by horsepower. And in those days, even the performing horses would be broken to harness and have to pull wagons. Then when you got into the railroad shows, so you could move from town to town by rail, then they just got these bigger baggage draft horses, like Percherons, to pull the wagons from the railroad yards over to the showgrounds, showgrounds back to the railroad yards.
And sometimes that was made more difficult by rain and mud.
Oh, and regardless of the condition of the showgrounds, the show had to be torn down and moved because the building had been up in the next town, 100 miles away. And if you missed one day, you'd miss it all the way along the line. It'd be a domino theory. It would ruin the route.
Greg Sauvé and the Ashwaubenon High School Band, 100 pieces strong. That's Happy the Clown from the Circus World Museum.
This is Jimmy Williams, who is the clown at the Circus World Museum every summer.
It's his buddy Patch, too. The horse is named Patch. We talked about the kids and some of the folklore. This is the Mother Goose float.
Yeah, Mother Goose is about 108 years old.
They didn't have ponies, though, at these parades,
Oh,
did they?
lots of ponies.
Did they?
Oh, sure. Because they had pony acts and lots of ponies pulling the parade wagons. You bet.
Pretty easy to see what this is. The Old Woman in the Shoe, of course. The 6 ponies are from Stanley Piper of Grant Park, Illinois. That's Catherine Ingratia. She is Paul and Roberta Ingratia's daughter from Austin, Texas. Paul, as we mentioned before, is the, actually, I guess we'll simplify that. Just call him the chairman of the board or the president of the Circus World Museum. Brookfield East, great high school band from Brookfield East, the Spartans. Yeah, they add a lot of excitement to a parade, and they add a lot. Of course, as we've said, there's constant music in the parade, and that's good.
And Bob Parkinson insists that they play tunes that were written prior to 1930. He picks out these wonderful tunes for them to play. Downs from Chicago, Illinois, riding the mule.
Well, I've heard of dog and pony shows, and I guess this is one that we're seeing now.
Yeah, great. I love it.
The Shades of the Gentry Brothers Dog and Pony Show of 1900. Gentry Brothers Equine and Canine Paradox. I love some of the titles that the circus people put on these things.
Yeah. Nothing modest about a circus press agent.
That's right. Magnificent, mighty, towering, triumphant. This is a cage wagon number 23 with a monkey in it, of course. And the 6 ponies are Harold Moritz of Minot, Illinois. He's been here before a lot of times. The equipment hauling courtesy of Wisconsin Lift Truck Corporation. This is one of the wagons that the Schlitz Brewing Company bought for the Circus World Museum. They were major contributors, weren't they, when they were in business?
Unbelievable contributors. That's a Unifon that's in that wagon. It's an electrically operated xylophone. And it just has the most lilting music.
Let's hear some of it. Playing the Unifon is Richard Crabtree of Milwaukee. There's another cage wagon. This is kind of a miniature cage wagon, though, Chappie, huh?
Yeah, we call it a pony cage because it's pulled by ponies.
Inside, you'll see a leopard, and the 6 ponies are Harold Moritz, again, from Milwaukee, Illinois. Now, that is this one honors the memory of Ephraim Williams, a Milwaukee shoeshine boy. Some call the closest thing this country ever had to a black P.T. Barnum. That's Bob Barnett of Milwaukee, portraying the black circus owner of the 1890s.
He was a good man. He had his own circus.
There's the Air Calliope. I got to get used to that. The Air Calliope. There's another unicorn incident. It was supposed to be a unicorn. Looks to me like it's a 4-horse hitch, though.
It is.
Hanky. Yeah. It's listed here as a unicorn, but it's a 4-horse hitch.
Air Calliope, of course, again, is another form of music for the parade, and very typical circus.
What powers this? An air
gasoline motor.
A motor drives the air through
a Stratton gasoline motor inside that powers the generator and the pumps.
We'll listen to the Air Calliope as cage wagon number 12 goes by.
These little cages that we're looking at are known as cross cages because they could be loaded sideways, crosswise on the flat cars. That would save space in the train.
Well, we got a cavalry section coming along now, and we'll have it in just a moment as we continue with the coverage of the Great Circus Parade.
In the minors, you must have called it all 1,000 times. Then one day, you got the call.
What's this, rookie umpire?
Beechwood age for that clean, crisp taste that says Budweiser.
Compliment for that gentleman.
This bar's for you.
Wage war against bothersome pests with an arsenal of products from True Value hardware stores. Plan your attack with Decon Ant and Roach Killer or Indoor Fogger, only $1.99 each. The Ortho High Power Insect Fogger for $2.99 penetrates an entire room. A gallon of home insect pest control spray by Green Thumb is just $7.88. And Cutter Insect Repellent provides outdoor protection. Choose the spray for $3.29 or the cream for $2.69 at participating True Value hardware stores.
Hardee's introduces garden fresh salads. We call them that because our lettuce comes from fresh lettuce. Our cabbage from fresh cabbage. And our carrots from, wouldn't you know it, fresh carrots. Unlike some other places where everything comes fresh. Off the truck. Hardee's new garden, seafood, and chef salads, proving once again that at Hardee's, we're out to win you over.
What I did this summer by rockin' Rick Brubaker. Any questions?
The band here playing is a favorite of mine. They've ridden with us on our wagon a lot in many parades around here. That's Gail Pierce and the old Mapleton Circus Band from Oconomowoc, actually from Mapleton. And of course, you recognize the wagon.
That's the Lion and Mirror wagon, used by Ringling Brothers as their #1 band wagon for years. The carvings on that wagon are 8 inches in relief. Most massive carvings on any wagon we have.
Gail Pierce will be the cornet player in the white jacket over there. The 8 Percherons are from Harold Schumacher of Plainview, who has a beautiful 8-horse hitch and always does. Let's go to Denise Calloway now. Denise, what you got, kid?
Well, John, as we know, this parade and most parades are made for kids, and I'm here with one of the thousands of kids at the parade today, Missy, who's from Sheboygan Falls. This is your first parade, but you have a rather unusual reason for being here.
I'm here because my grandma is a clown at a diner in New Holstein.
And she's here in the parade?
Yeah.
What do you like about the parade so far? What's the thing you like the most?
The clowns.
Yeah, the clowns are really great. John, even though this parade is made for kids this size, I think kids of all ages are able to enjoy it.
For sure. The Twin Lions telescoping tableau. Well, telescoping tableau, I guess.
It's another one of our English wagons. Built in 1865. It's an enormous vehicle, but magnificent in color and design.
That's Dick Savatsky of Hartford, Wisconsin. His name is misspelled in the program here, but I know Dick, and he's got quite a hitch. The wagon we're looking at now is the Hippo Den. That 8-horse hitch of Percherons with the 2 grays in the middle is from James and Dean Krieger of Aurora, Iowa. And that is indeed a hippo in there.
It's a pygmy hippo.
Yeah, meaning it's
very
much smaller.
No, not. It's actually a pygmy hippo. That's a definite species as compared to the regular hippo. And they're on the endangered species list, so it's really quite remarkable to be able to have one in the parade.
Now, that could be the most comfortable animal in the parade because there's water in there and it's splashing around. And what they're laughing at is the hippo opens his mouth and it's 2 or 3 feet wide, and that's what everybody laughs at. It looks like it's yawning. Yeah. And when it does that, I don't know whether that's a comment on the parade or what, but it opens its mouth out the side of the wagon and the crowd all yells at it. Okay, here's the Liberty section, and of course, in the 200th anniversary of the Constitution of the United States, we're delighted to present the Liberty section that signals the final section of the Great Circus Parade. Our country tableau lists 5 presidents on it, and those 5 are close lookalikes anyway. Horses are a 4-horse hitch of Belgians from Robert Ader in Wrightstown, Wisconsin. A living tableau, meaning that I suspect, Chappie, the people on there are live and
live. Many of these tableaus had wood-carved figures, so when they have real people, we call it a living tableau.
Now, the goddess of liberty on that was a sentinel rider, Amy Renard. They look for people who are closely tuned to Washington, Lincoln, Grant, McKinley, and Teddy Roosevelt, and the people that are riding are the people whom they thought were the most alike those famous presidents. But the Liberty section is a patriotic section, and that's another thing that we can say about circuses and about circus parades, Chappie. They were uniformly patriotic.
Always flags, flags, flags. And even at the showgrounds, there were flags on the tents and flags in the show, flags everywhere. It adds flash. And the American flag always added that patriotic touch.
And the mood of the country back in those days was, I think, probably pretty uniformly patriotic.
Yes, it was. Circuses, I can remember, even had what we call flag drops. People would be singing, the whole crowd would be singing God Bless America, and at the last bars, down would drop out of a box at the top of the tent. Down would drop this huge American flag, and it was kind of thrilling.
There's the mood of the country now seems to be more in tune with that too. For a while, I'm not sure that we were all that patriotic, but there's a great deal of patriotism coming back to us now.
I think it's a good turn to get back to that patriotism. because no matter how you think about it, this is one great country.
You bet. Let's listen to the 4th United States Army Band. The 4th United States Army Band, and you may be able to hear the people are clapping along with them, keeping time with the music as they go along. This is Betsy Ross.
Beautiful robes on those horses. Circus lingo, we call them blankets, but they really are robes.
Washington crossing the Delaware float. That's members of the Baraboo Kiwanis Club. The Belgian horses pulling them are from Mrs. Sharon Reamer of Chilton, and her late husband Ron was one of your very first teamsters in the parade, Chappie.
And a dear friend of his, Frank Rossler, is driving this team. He drove a 6-horse team of Belgians for years in our Sloot's days.
Sharon's 2 sons are coming along too. They're going to be quite good teamsters. This is the Air Force Band of the Midwest from Chanute Air Force Base in Illinois. Well, it's great to be in America, and that's for certain. This is the Air Force Band of the Midwest, and we'll be back in a moment with more coverage of the great circus parade.
Hold your horses. Here come the